This is the rhythm of change. This is the sound of redemption. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise
Accountability
together.
starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
your punk ain't gal.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. Welcome to cloudy, right? But I heard the weather is beautiful outside in terms of temperature. Day. What do you call it? Pre-Friday, right?
No, it's yeah.
Yeah,
Friday Eve.
Friday Eve. So welcome everybody to another episode. Hopefully we have a lively one. There's some stuff going on, some political, serious stuff going on. Then there's some nonsensical but serious stuff going on too, right? And we're going to try to talk about it. But welcome Diane and Vincent. How you guys doing today?
Good morning, Evans. How are you?
I don't know. I got stubble in my hair. I'm like fixated with my hair now. Like, or lack thereof, but
That's why I was laughing.
I haven't been to the barber, so I don't know what
well, I didn't get a chance to get my Remington out to get the stubble off. You know, like once you go bald, you wanna keep it smooth. Yeah, that is the thing, right? Keep it smooth.
Go to the barber. Stop messing around.
Well, look, with all of that, with all the variants and everything going on, and we're going to talk about that too. I'm telling you, I'm not paranoid. I'm just saying why. Like, I love Farrakhan, and Farrakhan, if you're watching, I miss you, my brother. But I understand all the precautions, all of the steps you've taken, and I think that is fantastic. But I think with this thing, Diane, everybody's got to walk their own journey, right? And so there's some things I feel comfortable doing, some things I don't, some things I have to do, even though I don't feel comfortable doing. This is one thing I don't have to do, right? I can butcher my head and my beard and all that kind of stuff. And, at 57, in fact, in 6 weeks, I'll be 58. So I don't really care. Like, I'm really thinking about rocking sandals and black socks this summer. That's how much I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Eric, I've got a tip for you.
What?
I learned this during my unfortunate period of incarceration. They don't give the prisoners razors, so what they do for guys with bald heads, they give them Nair.
No, I try. Well, I got a Nair story. I got a whole body Nair story. Like you know where I'm going. Yo.
Only you.
Yo, wait a minute. Wait, I won't tell the Nair story, but I gotta tell the Old Spice story. Right?
Okay. Here we go.
So my grandfather used to wear Old Spice. And he used to have it in the
great smell. My daddy wore it.
Yeah. Right? And I love the bottle, right? Back then, the white bottle with the ship on it, the whole bit, right? And so I would go into the bathroom, and much like, you'd look at your father and look at your grandfather and you'd emulate them, right? So when I was like 14 years old and I had a girlfriend and I was trying to impress her. So I go into my grandfather's bathroom, right? I close the door. And I didn't ask where I should be spritzing the Old Spice. so I spritzed it, on my neck and all that kind of stuff because I saw him do that. But then I'm like, well, what about, the areas down under? Got to take care of those too, right? Wouldn't be smelling fresh everywhere. So I spritzed.
Tell me you didn't do that.
I spritzed my genitals, man.
Oh,
and yo, the heat level, I felt like I felt like the character in the Fantastic Four, man. It was like flame on. Oh my goodness, man. I tried to lift everything and put it in the sink, man. I wanted to soak it. Oh,
Eric, I'm only laughing because I did the same thing.
I think you know what? If men are honest, I would almost guarantee that more than 50% of young men did it. Because you know, you're trying to figure it out.
Well, see, mine wasn't Old Spice. My mother sold Fashion 220, was the new multimedia marketing group that had cosmetics, and they had this thing called Wild Country.
Oh.
Yeah, well, I definitely developed a wild country that day.
Yo, brother, it was painful. It was painful.
Oh, yes.
You know.
Yes.
And then, similar thing with Nair, the first time out, but here's the problem with me with Nair, Diane, or Vincent, you said it, is black men have a hair bump issue, right? Because of how curly our hair is. And so if you cut your hair below the skin, as it's trying to regrow, right, from the hair follicle, if it doesn't come through the through your pores, it actually curls back in, and then you create an infection, and the hair bumps. So I don't know if you know, they came out with Magic Shave. Remember that, Vincent? Magic Shave for men. And my dad used that Magic Shave. Oh, that was some stinky stuff, man.
They used to promote that on Soul Train commercials.
Yes. Yeah, and my dad used that stuff, man. And he acquired like his skin, and I did that too, right? Because I watched my dad with the Magic Shave, so he'd go
But it made your face darker.
It would make your face darker, but then because what it was doing, you were building up resistance from it burning, right? And on the can, it tells you like just leave it on for a couple minutes. Yo, by the time like I got into high school, my dad had been using it so long, he'd be whistling around the house with it on for like half an hour, 40 minutes. I'm like, yo, and it didn't affect him, right? So I remember one day I put it on, and he would use the back side, the dull side of a butter knife to scrape it off, right? And so when I first tried it, I didn't adhere to what the can said because I saw what my dad did. And so I left it on, and I'm whistling around the house, whistling Chuck Mangione and all that other kind of stuff. Man, when I went to go with the back end of the knife, a layer of my skin came off. And I was like, yo, because it's like lye. It's like lye, Diane. And so I was like, oh shoot, right? And now I'm in the house by myself. My dad's off at work. Everybody's gone, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? So I took cold water, right, and I took a washcloth and tried to gently wipe it, but still, like a thin layer of my skin came off with it. And, and so what do black people do when that happens? You go straight to cocoa butter. Cocoa butter and vitamin E oil, man. And, it repaired my skin. So the Magic Shave was out. The Nair was out. And so then I started using clippers, just regular clippers, and not going below the skin level when I shave. So that's my deal.
And ladies and gentlemen, we just had the grooming habits of Eric Dawson through the last 25 years.
The reason why I said go to a professional and make it happen, but
I have to agree with her on that one.
Women are always smarter than men. Sometimes.
What? See, don't talk about the gorilla glue girl.
Sometimes always smarter.
Wait a minute, the gorilla glue girl. Really? Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
There you go.
That's right.
What about her?
That is the poster child for the women. Now give me the dude. Give me the dude that has done something that ridiculous. Go ahead.
Derek Jackson.
What?
Derek Jackson.
No. I'm talking about with hair. We're going to get on Derek Jackson in a second, but his wife is the dynamic...
Come on, Eric. Stick and move, baby. Stick and move.
Right. Derek Jackson's wife is the dynamic duo of that team, right? So she ain't getting no points.
Oh, Eric's up one.
That's right.
In the army, army.
Well, I don't know. Can you guys see my screen? So last night, Diane, you and I were talking, and you pulled this video up for me on her Instagram page, and I didn't read the caption. I didn't read anything. I was like, "Yo, is she in fatigues with like a army beret on, like, you know, like special forces for God?" You know, like, I don't know what's going on, but she. So Diane, give the background of Derek Jackson and she pronounces her name Danashe, but if you look at her on her Instagram page, she spells it out phonetically, and so it's D-U-H. Duh.
Shut up.
It does. Go look at her Instagram page.
I know. I've seen it.
Duh.
Stop.
Duh.
Well, don't make fun of her. That's not nice. She's going through a lot right now. So for those who don't know, and I thought it was the Naia. I thought that's how you pronounce it.
It is Danae. Duh.
Okay, yeah.
D-U.
NaiaJackson is married to the religious relationship guru, Derek Jackson, who has recently been called out by a YouTube blogger for cheating on his wife, even though he's selling this relationship crap to other women and stuff like that. And in fact, the blogger, who is Tasha K, who reveals it, had two of his previous, and as of last night, two of his previous mistresses and his current mistress come on and tell their story about his lying escapades, how they did not know he was married. They had stayed at the house for over a weekend with friends and other people, and you know, and he would regularly call and come visit them. And the current mistress lives out of state, and he would go out of state. And it's just been another shit show, basically. So yesterday afternoon, was it yesterday afternoon or the day before that? The day before that, he and his wife came out and did a video. Now, every time your husband drags you on national TV or social media to hold his hand while he tells his dirt, we all know you're a liar. We all know you're a liar. All you're trying to do is cover up and to save face. And for what we know from the interviews and stuff, he's in the midst of writing a deal with TD Jakes. He's already written a book, and he's still promoting his book and doing some other stuff with TD Jakes. So he's trying to, you know, like I said, save face and save that money, because he's basically made millions off of selling this relationship crap on how women.
But let me ask you a question, Diane.
Mm-hmm.
So aren't we all fallible? Aren't we all imperfect?
We are.
Right.
However, the lie comes when you try to sell one thing when you are doing something else.
Right, but that is part of it.
Well, no, it's more not contradiction as much as it is hypocrisy.
Well,
The people that you're selling it to.
right, but what I'm asking is this, right? I mean, because I'm gonna dig into them in a minute, and all of that. But I just want to, I want to really try to look at it and examine it. You know, for the people who follow the religious teachings, right, of Jesus and of the Bible, right? The great one of the greatest examples they use of a fallen man is David, right? And so if we look and say, you know, in this moment in time, if you were to judge David in that moment in time, you would have some very horrific things to say about him, right? But if you look at how God played it out and used David, right, and all of the people through David's journey, all of the people now who see that and are inspired by it and live their life based on it, you see how God used them, right? The scorn that David suffered, or the ridicule that one might give him, you look now and say, well, you know, God used him for a greater purpose, right? And so, we're only in a moment in time, right? And we don't know. Long after we're gone, the butterfly effect of what may occur may be something completely different. All I'm saying is, like, when we have the one conversation about the Bible and forgiveness and God and God's plan and all those other things, and then we now have the conversation over here about this particular guy and the fact that he did show up. And, look, again,
What?
Well, here is the thing, real briefly. The thing about David is that David is the biggest example. They call David a man after God's own heart. And some of the cliches in the church community is that David armor had a lot of holes in it because of some of the things he did. But the most important thing about David was that David always, even after doing incredible sins, always went to a period of repentance,
right,
and asking for
got it,
forgiveness.
right. But isn't that what Derek is doing now? Isn't that what he's right?
So here we go. I don't need to forgive him. That's something his wife has to do.
Absolutely.
I didn't stand before people and vow to God's love and honor and all that stuff with him. That's her thing that she has to get repentance from. Everybody else, the rest of us, are judging because telling something that is not the truth now. And now when we see the other side of this wife that you got up here posted, and you listen to her, you start to wonder, at what point did this turn into a cult? And does she have such low self-esteem that she will deal with a man that has been repetitively cheating on her?
Right. So part of the issue.
Let's look at this, Diane. I agree with you because you're not like fangirl like a lot of other people, and you don't have a need for his forgiveness. However, there are some people who to him he has a demigod status. And that fall from grace is what they were looking for. And there is a great deal of, there are people who have been cheated on and say that, our love is stronger than this act, this minor moment. And they do and have better marriages after that. But I guess the true test of that is if he has true repentance and not doing it again, or if he's just trying to do a PR thing.
Right, but even in the true repentance, right? See, I want to see, and this is why I'm gonna tell you. This is why in my conversations with folks, I say talking about being a Christian and following the Bible requires a whole lot, right? Because if you follow it and you believe those things, then you have to then say, I don't know this man's heart, right? So when you say true repentance, only God knows whether it's true repentance. And so I can't judge
That's what Diane said, that we can't judge.
Right, and so
we can judge because we standing on the sideline.
Right, even with regard to it being a cult. And so for me, I look and I say, yeah, it's a cult. But I'm saying part of the cultish behavior of it is the way it's wrapped up in religion, right? In the ideology of that, because she's now taking this position, and if you look at the picture, you see she's adorning fatigues and a beret, right? Because she's marching for the Lord with this, and so she's saying
ready for battle.
Right, she's ready for battle with the scripture, right? And so she's saying that based on the things that she's reading in the Bible, the way that she lives her life according to the Bible, she is to be submissive in these ways. She is to believe these things in these ways. And so he now is having a conversation with her, right? Being a religious, a relationship counselor person, wrapping all of this up in that. And so she's caught in the middle of all of that. And so
manipulating.
Well, it could be. And then, you have to look at it and keeping it in the text. One of the things that it says is judge not yet ye be judged by the same measure and standard. So, or basically as Jesus said, how can I take a splinter out of your eye when I have a tree in mine? And it's more of, okay, let's focus on us and not, put too much emphasis, downplay judging and victimizing, because we don't know what's in, what happens in that house that causes this.
That's
So,
down with a whole bunch of women. We do know that.
well, we do know that,
Yeah.
and but yes, we do know that. But do we know it in its totality, where we can actually say that we can honestly make a solid assessment? And that's why they said that only God can judge,
Right?
Because He knows it all.
Got it. So my thing is this: the dude cheated, right? So he cheated, right? He stepped out of the relationship. So what we know, right, without judging, is that he's an author of several books, right, and he does whatever kind of ministry to people through social media on relationships and such, and it's all grounded in religion, right? And now we know that a lot of the things, most of the things, maybe even that he talks about, he actually did not practice. So we know those things without judging. This is just fact. The question that I was asking Diane before was whether or not you could, and we know this too, right? That he is trying to salvage something, right? And no doubt part of it is financial, right? Because he's built this empire, and doesn't want to see it crumble. So we know those things,
right? And like David, since we're using him, the big similarities is that what you do in the dark comes to light, or as my grandmother used to say, if it don't come out in the wash, it's going to come out in the rinse.
right?
And like that, he is exposed for his hypocrisy. But then you have to look at, there are people who have gone through and experienced things, and after they've cleared themselves and purged themselves of that sin, go on to do phenomenal things. The best preaching I've ever heard was done by a man who will never get out of prison. And that's the son of Sam killer.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So listen. So here's the question now, right? Because many will say he's tainted, right? And so the books that they bought, and I've talked to a couple of women who said, yeah, I used to listen to him. I ain't listening to him anymore. But isn't this the truth that he's not perfect?
Amen.
The man that, and I'm saying this to the women who told me this because they listened to the show, that the man you're with isn't perfect.
Amen.
Right? And so all of us are walking our individual life experiences trying to get through this thing as best we can. And
so what you're trying to do, Eric, is say, oh, well, we're not perfect, so we shouldn't judge. Bullshit.
No, I'm not saying what I'm suggesting.
I don't think
that from the beginning, for the women who thought that they were reading a book of a perfect man who had a perfect life, and they were trying to emulate that. These are the same women who watch Housewives of
Basketball Wives.
Right, Basketball Wives. They watch all these other shows, right, where they try to achieve some level of utopia and perfection that doesn't exist. And so then when it comes crumbling down because you've iconized this person, right? And then you realize that, oh my God. And then you go chasing the next perfect thing. I'm saying nothing is perfect. Anybody who's speaking to you about this stuff, they got a jacked up something in their life, right? And so you just have to accept that, right? And don't go chasing somebody who's telling you that they have a perfect life. Now, we can talk about how screwed up his life is, right? But you know what? No matter how screwed...
and cheating are two different things, and you're trying to make it seem that because he wrote about this, we're looking for perfection. Nobody's looking at anybody for perfection. I don't even know where that comes from. People don't look at people and read a book and say, oh, their life is perfect.
Right.
There are some people who do.
They read books and they follow people because they believe in the direction in which they're going is truthful. Not perfection. Truthful.
Wait, now let me ask you a question though, Diane. Is it the direction that they're going in, or it's so this is what I'm asking. So is what the man said wrong, or the way he lived not in accordance with what he said?
If he's talking about being faithful in marriage, then and not being faithful in his marriage, that's not being truthful.
No, I get no.
It is.
No, listen to what I'm saying to you. So he wasn't living. Diane, what I'm saying is,
Eric, let her finish.
he's not living truth.
Following your own path, so you can't tell people what to do if you haven't done it or doing it yourself.
So
That's not also.
That's not true. That's not true. Can I?
It is true. How do you trust a person if what they're
You're asking different things, Diane. So if I'm a bank robber, but I tell you don't rob banks, right? Me telling you not to rob a bank is a true statement, and it's something you ought not do, whether I do it or not, right? So if I say to somebody, what?
That's a point.
Right. So I can be a murderer and tell people don't murder. Right. That's a true statement. Don't go murdering people. And then yes, you can say that I didn't follow what I did myself, but the fact is you still shouldn't go murder people.
The biggest hypocrisy in our lives are the hypocrisies that we started seeing through our own parents, who tell us, don't do as I do as I say do. The biggest hypocrisy that we see and that we hold a huge level of judgment on is people in our lives that we read and we look at, holding and believing that these people have a perfect life, and there is no perfect. Holding and believing that what they're saying and Eric's right, what they're saying is true. And a lot of people can tell you the truth because of, like Eric said, their experience and how it ends horribly. And that is the truth. Even though he is preaching that not to do it, he could be preaching from his own.
So speak up, Jody.
All right. So I'm going to say, Diane. We have to talk about that he was selling it, right? So if he had sold that this is the way
You gotta speak up a little bit, Jody. Thank you.
Right? So if he was selling that this is the way a relationship is perfect, and we found out he was a crackhead, was one thing. He was selling that product. He wasn't saying this is this way. He wasn't saying.
Can you guys hear Jody? I can barely hear you, Jody.
This relationship to go because I failed that. So,
I can't hear Jody.
okay. Can you hear me better?
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So he was selling that. He was selling that this is how a relationship should go. And this is what successful relationships look like. And moreover, and this is what a good man looks like, lady. That's what he was selling, right? So if we had found out 2 days ago that he was selling that and he was the crackhead, right? I could get it. He's not perfect, like Diane said, and no one is looking for perfection. But you can't sell me something. He's no different than a politician that says, hey, I'm going to do this, and this. Give me your vote. He was saying, give me your money. And then you're going to find out that I don't give a damn about this. And I'm not doing that. You don't get to sell. Now, I never watched him. And I just kind of said that people are on the internet looking for freaking life philosophy. And how to live your life. That's in itself is trash, right? But no one should listen to him. And you don't get to go around talking about Jesus forgives you and so listen to me some more. No.
So let me ask you a question, Jody. Jody, let me ask you a question. Jody, can I ask you a question? So,
He does say you are a sinner and you fall for the Christian and you fall short of my kingdom. He is a unjust God. Period. So we need to stop, first of all, in every sector of religion, especially as people of color, stop talking about God don't hold people accountable. That's why we are so dependent on politicians and religious leaders and activists who then turn around and not live up to that standard.
but Jody, can I ask you a question? Jody,
After you finish, can I go?
sure you can. But I want to ask this question, right? So I get it, but the question I'm asking you is this. He may not have lived up to what he wrote in the books, but is what he wrote in the books the way we should be living?
And
Wait a minute.
That each person earns the right to give the message. He's proceeded that right horrifically, right? He no longer just the messenger. Just like any politician that tells you, to be your leader, just like any church you go to, and the preacher is saying, take care of the poor, but take the poor people's money. He shouldn't be allowed to be there. That's what he was doing. And we live in this life, right? And it just falls short of what is coming. And you no longer get to sell that product. You can sell that product.
Okay.
Anymore.
Get
Jody.
No, go ahead, Vincent.
Here is the thing, and Eric did say that I could go next. Here is the thing, Jody. The number one system of recovering addicts is AANA, and it's the number one because it is a group of addicts who say that no, I am still an addict even though I'm not using, telling other people how not to use that example, because one addict because an addict cannot fool another addict. They've been there and they've done that. And the thing is that the Bible says that we have all fallen short of the glory of God. But no, God does not give you free or no accountability for your actions. He gives you forgiveness of your actions so that because it's called progression sanctification. It's make a mistake, learn from the mistake, and don't do the mistake again.
Here's where you just proved the point, right? An ex-drug addict, right? Saying to people, hey, don't do this because I felt this, I know, here's my story, I saw, and so I can get through. And I have no problem with this. That guy was not selling. Hey, y'all, I'm cheating on my wife as I'm sitting here. And I'm telling you, that's the bad road to go. That's not what he was selling. And now he wants to say to us, and we can now accept him to sell that one. Okay.
No, Jody, he wasn't selling that this is my life and my life is perfect because I do this. He was selling this is the way to a better relationship and marriage. He wasn't.
No, that's not true, Vincent. He was saying he was saying this is my life.
Even if it was from a lack of information, right? He was definitely selling that he had the answer.
Yes.
Yes.
No. Nobody's right. But here's the question, right?
And I've been probable. Honestly, he would have probably been richer if he was selling the truth. He should have been selling the truth.
Right.
If he was telling people, listen, I struggle with being a cheater.
But here's
I'm just saying.
Jody, but here's a challenge that we're going to face, right? As we hold him to this standard, and I'm going to reference the documentary that I saw a week and a half ago, MLK FBI. So they're going to be releasing all these tapes and information about Dr. King, and a lot of it we heard in rumor and whatever, right, about extramarital affairs and such that he had. But here's a guy, right, who was exalted on this pedestal of being, perfect, right? And so, wait a minute. No. Let me finish, please.
Finish.
Okay, right? And so now, Dr. King, when you hear that as he was going around in the pulpit, right, projecting himself in a particular manner, right, he and his wife, right, and his children, right, and we see that he didn't live that. How do we reconcile that?
We reconcile that by this, Eric. It is not the messenger that we should be focusing on. It is the message.
Well, that's the question I'm asking. Is that should we be doing that, or hello?
The kid wasn't selling me his loyalty to his wife.
No, maybe not to you.
And no one, and neither was he selling that explanation. He was a civil rights leader, right? Yes, he was a Christian, and he was supposed to be a man of God. Go to his church. I know his philosophical messaging on God and what's right before people. He wasn't going around talking about people shouldn't have affairs on their wives. I don't have anything. Guess what? That's his personal. Because what he was telling this nation, philosophy on how to treat people right.
Right.
That's
So Jody, wait.
But that's not true, Jody. But understand where he, Jody. But see, you can't do that. But you can't do that. The credibility was built in the church. His credibility. What? No. I'm not saying for. No, I'm not saying. I'm not saying for you, right? But I'm saying that he may not. So if we look at Dr. King as a snowball, right, going down a hill, and as it goes down the hill, it gathers more snow and becomes bigger, right? At the very beginning, when it was small, he was building his credibility in the church. So by the time he reached you, or his message reached you, the level of credibility and the number of people that were all gathered around him, it started in the church.
So Eric, even with that example, Martin Luther King wasn't selling relationships.
That's not what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying.
No, I'm not missing.
Yeah, you are. He was selling credibility.
Okay, so again, he was not selling a relationship.
He was selling credibility.
He was not selling a relationship. His credibility was built on civil rights. And
his credibility was built on him being a pastor.
Yeah, thank you.
Church leader.
Stop, guys. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I want to do it. Your opinion.
Go back and read The Death of a King. His credibility was built on being a pastor of a church.
Yes.
Relationship. It had nothing to do with his relationship with his wife.
But his credibility.
His credibility as a pastor who was faithful to his wife.
No.
Come on.
Yes. Credibility was built upon him preaching his status in the church. His message was therefore scandalized and minimalized when they started producing the fact that he was unfaithful to his wife. It is the same mechanics.
So again,
I hate to say this, right?
People didn't follow Martin Luther King because he was faithful or unfaithful to his wife. They followed him because of the message.
You're missing.
Of the civil rights. I'm not missing the point.
Yeah, you are.
Same with Derek Jackson.
No, actually, she's proving your point.
Let me finish. Derek Jackson is selling a relationship through the church. He is selling a relationship. So you can't tell me now that people should follow him and not judge him because what he just sold to us is now based on a lie.
Well, we can.
But Pastor John Gray, he's out here. I didn't cheat. And now he's doing the apology tour with his goofy wife sitting next to him, talking about he don't cheat. He's honest, and we don't have any. Like, stop it.
But see, Diane, here's the thing: the same litmus or the same measure of judgment that you're giving the pastor, you cannot extend. And the same is totally contrary to the same grace that you are extending to Dr. King. You have to either stick to one or stick to the other.
So let me ask you guys a question, right? I want to ask you a question, Diane.
Take that credibility the way I choose to. You don't decide on how I see people and how
No, that's fine.
Prove their
But can I ask you a question, Diane?
I'm not deciding it. What I am is making an observation.
No. Can I ask a question? I want to ask you a question. So, would you agree that the Southern Christian Leadership Conference played a massive role, right?
I agree.
No.
That Southern Leadership Conference chose.
No, Southern Christian, and it's important that I put Christian. See that, and
No. Again, I'm going to say, people did not follow Martin Luther King because they thought he had a great relationship. That's not why they bought into him. That's not why they bought into him. So you can't flip that in any other way.
No.
His credibility, because he was a pastor, yes, is what got him to where they would seek him out. But it wasn't because of relationship, and he didn't sell a relationship. Whether he was cheating or being honest.
He sold being a pastor. He sold being a pastor first, an activist second. A man of God first, an activist second. That's what he sold.
Assuming that
No, I'm
because you are a pastor, that people are looking at your relationship as your
No, Diane, they're looking for truthfulness. You're trying to. Okay, you can talk over me.
They are looking for viability and leadership.
Go ahead. I'll let you go, and then I'll talk. Go ahead.
So this is what I don't understand, right? First of all, if we got technical about it, the church and the civil rights movement, that's geography, right? That's where we came together. It's the only place we could go. So that's where you would find your leadership, right? Most of your leadership came from a church house, right? And I don't agree with Diane. So we're mixing up geography and time periods, and like that's a lot of mess in it, right? But with Dr. King, if we say like most pundits would say about a politician, you are a product. Most real strategists, when they talk to a politician, you're a product. You're selling a message. Keep to the message, right? Dr. King was selling civil rights. He kept to the message, right? If he had an affair that made him fall short of the glory of God, that's between him and his God. But what he was selling to the people was civil rights.
Right.
And he was perfection in it, right? Even though we had different philosophies at different times, some of us were more excited when he got a little more radical and stood for what it was. He was still perfection at selling that product.
Okay, wait. So Jody, all right, wait a minute. Jody,
Jackson to Martin Luther King.
Right. So
Like,
okay. Wait. Vincent, let me respond to that, please. And
Yes,
give me a minute to respond. So what I'm saying to you is this: I still believe that you're not starting at the foundation when it comes to Dr. King. That he was selling first that he was a man of God. Then he was selling. Please allow me to finish. Then he was selling the fact that he was an activist, and he was selling and the credibility of what he was saying was grounded in the fact that he was a man of God, right? You are removing that whole piece, which I'm saying was critical through his entire activism in civil rights. His entire activism in civil rights.
Jody, can I? Because I was waiting for Eric. I was waiting for Eric. Thank you. And to what Eric was saying now, and I agree with you all. What I'm going to say is this, and what we're doing, because it is difficult and we get very offended when people start to scandalize and take away the value of our heroes, as in Dr. King and what he did and what came out. A lot of people could care less because he is still their hero. What I'm saying is that grace in which we give them, should that grace go to other people?
And that's the only question I'm asking.
To others.
That's the only question I'm asking. That's the only question I'm asking.
And my only point is, right, I just think that the analogy is a poor analogy, right? Because, and I'm not taking away, Eric, that Dr. King showed that he was the man of God, that I get that, right? But I'm talking about historically who he is, right? When he goes down in history, it's not as Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, the man in the pulpit, right? Historically, he is considered a civil rights figure. He stole a product, right? And he was a human being, so he wasn't perfect. I'm not saying that we didn't give him credibility initially because he was the man of God, right? But the final product, the product in which he sold America, what we have to hold him accountable for, I believe, when we start saying or nicking at the entire person or that figure, right? Just the figure, was he stole civil rights, right? I'm not talking, I don't care who Derek Jackson speaks with. I don't care if he cheats on his wife forever. I don't care if he comes on social media with the crazy outfit and talk crazy stuff and make excuses, because guess what? She's supposed to. If she's going to stay with him, she needs that money to continue. So yesterday wasn't about their relationship. Yesterday not a come to Jesus moment for Derek Jackson, right? If he had never been caught, hell, we would never know. Yesterday was a political moment, for lack of a better word, in this case, for them to salvage his career.
Sure, it's public relations. I got it. Yeah, it was right. It was. I'm not suggesting that it wasn't PR, right? And I'm not suggesting that they weren't looking at, a major asset, right, being crippled by the revelation. What I am asking, the second question, the one question that I was asking, and thanks, Vincent, was should he be extended a certain level of grace, right? And then second question that I'm asking is this: though he didn't follow the things that are in the books that he wrote, are the things in the book that he wrote things that people should do, like not cheat on your wife?
I wouldn't read his.
Right. So if the guy said don't cheat on your wife, even though he cheated on his wife, right? Isn't it still true that you shouldn't cheat on your wife?
I don't know if he talked about not cheating on his wife. I don't know what his book said, but you know what? Because I'm not giving him any money, so he can't get that from me. But what I do know is what he posted publicly from his videos is what he says and what he's doing are two different things, even at the time that he's saying it. Because there were videos that were pointed out that he's talking about these things, but he's doing a videotape in front of the mistress's house because he's at her house.
Well,
you can't be so far removed and think that 1 and 2 doesn't go together.
Well, Diane, you're right. But should we throw out the baby with the bathwater?
That's all I'm asking.
Absolutely.
Tell you why. Because he has put up.
God help y'all babies, boy. I'm telling you, they're heading for the window.
Because we black women, I'm not talking about any other ethnic group because I'm not in their ethnic group to know what they do with their men. We black women have put up with too much crap on black men doing things and thinking it's acceptable and us staying with them for a myriad of different reasons, knowing that what they have done is wrong. Because when you're out there cheating, it's not just affecting the wife, it's affecting the kids, the uncles, the aunts, the mamas, the grandmas. It's affecting the entire family by what you choose to do when you stick in your pee and something else and you coming back and writing a religious book talking about this is how women should submit and this is how relationships should be and this is how it looks. That's wrong.
But on that same token, Diane, men deal with a lot of crap with women, yet they justify it, but yet they justify it and say, by whatever means. So what you're now doing is minimizing one sin and maximizing the other. And the Bible says sin is sin.
I have a response to that.
Diane is only talking about this issue, right? What are we talking about? We're going to go in that rabbit hole.
No, so I'm trying not to go down there.
I have a rebuttal for you.
Yeah.
And a rebuttal is, if a black woman cheats on a black man, he kicks her butt out the house, and it's a done deal. We will take you back several times trying to work it out, not only for ourselves, but for the family, to help you look good in your career, to help you look good to the public, help you look good to the church. So don't tell me about one-sidedness.
No. Not all black women, because my uncle still ain't back with his wife.
Black men don't stay with cheating women. Okay?
Right.
No.
Well, but I don't want to get into anecdotal. But I'm trying not to. I don't want to get into anecdotal. What happened in my family? What's going on in what my uncle did? What my whatever did? Right? Because I think the conversation is bigger than that. But when I think about and yes, I'm always looking through the lens of the 1619 group or ADOS, Diane. But when I look nationally, whether we're talking about what Tammy Faye Baker dealt with, we're talking about Jimmy Swaggart, right? We can go to some very high and prominent white preachers, right? Who
Beyonce, we could talk about all these other black women. Yeah, we could that too.
Right. So my question is, so for me, I wasn't making it about what black folks and white folks did. The question that I was asking is can right? Does the if we look and say that people are imperfect, right? Do they deserve a certain level of grace? And then secondly, just because they didn't follow the thing that they said, does it mean the thing that they said wasn't correct?
But well, don't we know that from the beginning? So we know, I mean, if it's religious, we know that fornication is a sin, and we know that a husband or woman, wife, it doesn't matter to me. I don't know how we got into the sex thing, right? Whoever cheats, that is the sin, right? And his grace should come from his stupid wife. You want to give him grace, the more grace? Because you ain't just giving him first round of grace, right? You want to give him 20 rounds of grace? That's the grace he gets. But he doesn't get. But he should not. He shouldn't be allowed to sell that product anymore. And I'm just talking about product, right? You sell a product, you say, hey, don't put bleach inside on a bench in the park drinking bleach, right?
Well,
so he just put on a product that he found that. Any grace he gets, that's the personal.
Well, I think that's different, Jody. That's not that, but that's different. Wait a minute. Here's a proper analogy. Wait a minute.
Have the right to not.
Wait a minute. Here's a proper analogy. No, wait.
We shouldn't buy
Stop.
that.
One second.
Exactly.
1 second.
Not what he's selling.
Vincent, wait a minute.
Exactly.
Wait a minute.
Exactly.
But Jody, the example you gave is a false example, right? I think that this is a
being funny,
right. But here's an actual example, right? So if I say that you should from a health standpoint, you should consume X number of calories a day. You should have X number of proteins and whatever carbs and whatever, right? Through science, I say you should do that, and I put that in a book. And then somebody catches me on video shoving down a whole pizza pie with double anchovy and pepperoni, right? What I wrote in the health book is still true. The fact that I didn't do it doesn't make it. The fact that I didn't do it doesn't make what's in the health book not true.
That's not true.
That's what
That is true.
If I was a big fat girl, right, and I was following you, and you were telling me that, right, and I was believing that, and I saw you shoveling pizza down your throat, I would just go on to the next person. No, I wouldn't follow you. And you know what? Even that example is kind of taken away what Diane is saying, right? And none of us should be using examples because we should just stick to this script. Because, moreover, right, this is why that product, or people are so passionate about leaving him and not wanting to support him, right? It's because what you just said, right? Or Diane just said. So he was a person that had all of these black women following him, right? Men, because I know a couple of dudes that followed him, right? Listening to him, and he's selling a bad product to our family. And then he turned around, right? We don't need, to Diane's point, women out here in this community, only speaking for black women, right? We don't need it anymore, and I can speak from this perspective as a black woman. We don't need any more women that continue to tell us and Bible beat us about accepting less than or settling for what we don't have to settle with, because I'm hoping, talking to you three, I'm not married, Eric's about to be, right? I would hope that Diane is coming from the perspective that she is not going to settle for that kind of treatment. And she's married. And that her husband is not going to do that. And that Vincent isn't going to cheat on his wife, and he's accepting that, right? And that you are about to get married, and you're in a relationship, and you're not selling that. That's what we need in our community. We need Diane and Vincent and Eric who are showing people how women should treat men and how men should treat women in marriage in our community and what it should look like.
I agree with that.
And she turned around and she came on, and all of those women that she could move, change, woman out of a bad predicament. She put on a freaking hat.
Well, I can't.
Right. So
Had him squeezing the hell out of her hand like he was trying to break it in his big long caress to give her the words that he was allowing to come out her mouth. We don't need them.
Here's the thing. There are 2 points. First and foremost, thank you for that, because you know what? I work hard with that. And yes, being a black man, you run into a lot of what he has ran into. In fact, being a black woman, you run into a lot of what they run into. The choices that you make is what solidifies your relationship and makes it stronger. However, in terms of what the topic and Eric was saying, do we want to buy a book that can give us help, or do we want to buy the messenger who is infallible and not perfect? That is the whole thing.
that's the question I'm asking. Like, and that's throwing the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, so
Bye, baby. It's the same when Steve Harvey promoting his books. Act like a lady, but think like a man.
Right.
But he's from wife to wife, and he's with the next wife before he divorced the last wife. You have to look at that and say, you can't sell stuff that you aren't representing yourself.
Right.
It has to be true. You can't adopt your new wife's daughter, and she running all over the place, jumping in bed with everybody else, but you telling everybody, all these other women, you gotta wait 90 days before you can give up the cookie. Come on now.
right. So, but here's the
different rabbit hole.
but here, no, well, but not even.
The original question.
But that's not even the. That's not even the.
Out the baby.
But that's not. All right, one at a time. One at a time.
And I'm praying for your baby.
Right.
There are instances, Vincent, that when enough is enough, and you cannot continue to support stupidity and everything else that you're doing and cheating. That you
I agree.
Because while you're doing that and you're standing by somebody, and she can stand by all she wants, because I ain't got to deal with that problem. That's her problem.
I agree.
And while you're reflecting that and showing that to everybody else in the world and making yourself look weaker and smaller, you're over here trying to pretend that something is perfect or semi-perfect or even tolerable when it's not.
Right.
When it's
But
not.
what I'm saying, but in terms of the wife, Diane, it is every individual's wife choice to either stay and build a relationship or to leave and kick them to the curb.
Exactly.
And I understand your choice. Believe me.
The question is, do we throw the baby out? I say yes.
Right.
This baby, that baby Jackson, he's out.
Well, no, we're not talking about. Okay, so Diane, I'm not. So when I say baby out with the bathwater, I'm not talking about him. I'm saying throw him out, right? The baby and the bathwater are two different things, right? So it's a book or the words in the book, right? Whether the words in the book are true words by which people should live their lives by, and he did. Wait, let me. True words that he should live, that everybody should live their lives by, and then he didn't live his life by it. But it doesn't mean that the words still are not true. He just didn't live. He didn't live. Let me finish. Okay, I just.
Proven himself not to be correct.
But you. Okay, I'm trying to get it out without being interrupted. Right. So I'm saying I understand he didn't live his life by it. The question I'm asking is, are the words that he didn't live his life by still true words? That's the question.
It's true, Eric, but guess what? Find another self-help book. There's 50 million books out there about how to be a successful marriage, what a successful marriage looks like, why to do these things this way. There's a whole bunch of Christian books about how to have a Christian marriage, Go get another author. Go get another author, because I believe, and this is not soapboxing, because we all fall short of the glory.
Right.
We all have work to do in different sectors of our life. No man is perfect.
Right.
That's not the point, right? It's just that I think that sometimes, especially in our communities, right, we have to be careful about what we take in. A smart woman texted me the other day.
Right.
We have to be careful about what we take in. What messaging we want to hear.
Right, I don't disagree with that. I I'm not disagreeing, Jody, but I'm not disagreeing. Again, I don't want to. I'm not disagreeing with any of what you're saying. I'm simply saying, is the message that we're taking in from the books a valid message? Him as the messenger, maybe not. But the books, And so here's the other question I want to ask before we move on. So if we look and say, and I don't know how old they are, how long ago he wrote the books and when he started cheating. But let's say he wrote these books 5 years ago, right? And he was living according to that 5 years ago. I'm not, see, you're not listening to what I'm, so here's a question I'm asking.
She admitted on her video that there was cheating before the marriage.
Before the marriage.
But there was cheating before the marriage.
Okay.
She admitted this, right? So, maybe we need to clarify that, right? So this isn't a circumstance of a guy who was promoting a messaging, right? And in the middle of promoting the message, he had a fall. We ain't even talking about that guy. We're talking about a guy, right, who found a messaging that could sell because he was always a cheater. He's been a cheater. So when he first came out into the social media realm with this non-cheating, this is how you're successful, he was cheating then. My God. So he had a hustle. He found a hustle, and he hustled a lot of folks.
Well, wait a minute. But see, I don't know. So last thing, let me say this.
There were problems before the marriage.
Okay.
I'm gonna
go ahead, Vincent.
Jody, I'm gonna take that at your word. And but also, what I would like to say about that point is this: she knew what he was when she married.
Well, that doesn't matter. I'm not even talking about that. What I'm asking is this: let's say, what do you say to women who say, and men who read the books and say that it helped their relationships?
Yeah, you do.
All right.
It's the ones that ruined their relationships because they followed the book. What do you say to them?
Well, but that's where I'm back to. Wait a minute. But that's where I'm back to. If the book itself, not him, if the book itself ruined relationships as opposed to strengthen relationships, then it is still the book, right? It's the words in the book. And so, yes, we shouldn't read it. But if that book, absent him and what he is exposed to have done, if the book itself has turned out to help and strengthen relationships, that's where I'm saying maybe we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. We look and go, you know what? He was an asshole. He was a jerk. He was a liar. He was a whatever. However, the thing that God used him to produce was beneficial to all of these people. That's all I'm asking. And maybe no, it was just a question.
Yeah, well,
that was it.
Already, yeah.
All right. So, yeah, and look, and for her, so because we spent a lot of time talking about him,
Where do we here?
Yeah, she's
got a lot of decisions to make.
She got a lot of decisions to make, right? And I've seen everything on her page from people saying, girl, if you're in trouble, blink twice, right? So we know, to people actually praising her and saying, I applaud you, not standing by your man, but standing by what they're saying is the word of God, right? And they're posting scripture and things that suggest that she should be doing exactly what she's doing right now. I don't know. It's all very interesting, and it's sad for her, right?
Yes, it is.
Because she didn't ask to be thrown into this.
Yes, she did.
And now she is.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
Yes, she did.
You think so?
She knew what he was when she married him.
Okay.
She knew what he was.
That's a bigger conversation, right? Because it would be people that are stable women, right? Just speaking from that perspective. If it's women, and this is how it helps their marriage, right? But okay, so I'm gonna accept a repetitive cheater, right? And I'm gonna stand on this is what Christ would want me to do. I don't know if that's quite helping you. I don't think that's quite helping any woman. And so She accepted that. Okay.
Well,
I don't think that's I don't think that that's Christ-like. I don't think that the Most High God says that a woman should just be with a cheater, and based on His word. I think, you know, in every biblical writing it says, "Don't be nobody's fool." Nobody, no one. Whether you did it in a marriage, don't be a fool. That's not what my God is telling anyone. Period. So no, that's not Christ-like to just be abused and used and mistreated and treated unfairly. No, that's not what Christ says a marriage is. And I think that's another question. A whole nother show would be, what is a marriage that the Most High God plans to stand? Because every marriage ain't a marriage. Mm-hmm. Every marriage is not a marriage. That's just, I'm sorry. And so we're getting into that, what is Christian, and no God would want anyone, not a woman or a man. It's not about sex and gender for me, right? If a man is in a relationship and his wife is whoring around about town, he should pack his stuff and get the hell out of Dodge. That's for any human being.
I don't even know how she going.
Right.
Whatever, you know what I mean. Like, extreme taking Christianity, that's like, a white supremacist who sticks on, this is God says we're the supreme being. Like, what are you talking about? That's not what any God would want for his people. So,
well, but this is right. I don't want to get into the whole religious thing, but this is why I have challenges with religion, right? Because some of what you said, Jody, isn't true. Because you said God wouldn't want suffering and this, that, and the other, but He had that according to the Bible for His own Son, right?
That's different.
No, but it's not, right? But it isn't, right? It really isn't.
Jesus Christ is, if we believe that, right? His
well, like I said, I don't want to get into the whole. I don't want to make it a religious show.
Then you can't bring up religion.
But you can't bring up religion,
right?
We can't talk. You can't draw on religion as being part of anything. Then.
And you can't draw on religion in terms of its frailty, because the problem is not the message or the text. The problem is the application of it. Just like the problem is not the book that he sells. The problem is the fact that he's not following it.
That's right.
Well, but that's what I asked in the beginning, right? So if the problem's not the book, but the problem is that he's not following it, is the book still valid? Right?
If the book is not valid, how many times I got to say it?
That is funny.
No, I didn't buy the book. I don't intend to buy the book, but I wasn't going to buy the book before, right? So, that's it. Listen,
to be honest with you, I never even heard of him.
Yeah, I didn't hear of him until Amina came to me and she said, "Hey, you heard of this guy Derek, whatever?" And I think she used to listen to him. I'm not sure, but at least she knew of him. And then she brought him to my attention, and then I started paying a little more attention. And then I saw Naia, and I was like, oh my God, but that's that. Listen, I was listening to the news this morning about some of the bills that are proposed, the struggle that's going on between Democratic Party and the Republican Party with regard to everything from redistricting, right?
Right.
To the whole voting rights thing. Did you know that some of the bills that they're proposing, like one of them, and we've all done this, right, Jody, Diane, and probably maybe you, Vincent, down there. If you work on a campaign, part of the whole thing is feeding people, right? Because people are gonna be working late, right, and whatever, and you get workers because they ask you, like, yo, that campaign didn't feed us last time, right? So you line all of that stuff up. And what we learned through doing campaigns is, especially like when during 2008 when Obama ran and you had those long lines in Newark, we actually not only were feeding our workers, we were feeding the people who were standing in line.
That's right.
Right? Because we knew that these people were in line for all this time, right? And we wanted to give them no reason to not be in line, right? So if they were hungry, they said, you know what, I'm hungry, I'm gonna, nope, let that not be a reason. Here's some food. So whatever we could do to make it comfortable for you, right? And so what they're proposing in some states is that you can't feed people in line.
That's right.
That's crazy. I mean, what does that have to do? What does?
Manipulating.
Huh?
It's manipulating. You know that.
Right. So, but this is
to you while you going in to vote for my candidate is manipulation.
no. But Diane, but here's the deal, right? But it's something that both sides can do if they wanted to, right? You don't have to.
Yes.
Wait a minute. And you know what? What I would say to you is this: if and I don't even look. I don't think that there's anything. Do I think that people take advantage of people who are food deprived? Absolutely, right? But it is my prerogative, right? I don't like you don't have a right to eat food that I bring you, right? I can choose to bring you food or not, right? I'm not. It's not a threat, right? It's an enticement. Right? And so if I decide that I want to do that as an enticement, just like giving you a ride to the polls, right? Is that going to be the next thing then? Like I decide to give people a ride.
Eric, all of that is manipulation.
I'm not, no. But hear what, but not, Diane, but you're missing my point, right? My point to you is this, that giving you a shirt, a logo with a logo on it, right? Where the other political team can't afford a shirt, right? Like where do we?
You know what you might be missing? You may be missing that it's not what it is for the team that's let's say feeding. It's how the other side, those who are legislating this, right, what their perception is.
No, I understand. No, I'm not missing that.
Right?
Right, I hadn't gotten to that part.
It's about believing that is what the black vote.
Well, no. It's not believing. It is what it is, right? And so I'm not. I didn't miss it. I just hadn't gotten to it yet. So here's the truth. Here's the truth in elections. The truth in elections is, and it's always been said, when Democrats show up, Republicans lose. When Democrats stay home, Republicans win, right? And so the idea is to get more Democrats to show up. Right? And so when you're looking at ways to get more voters to show up, any way that you can get more voters to show up is going to be something that Republicans are going to be against because of the simple rule that when Democrats show up, Republicans lose. Right? And that's why in the 2020 race, the goal was because Democrats wanted to make sure through the vote by mail and everything else, the actual turnout, right? Because Republicans turn out on election day. Democrats typically don't. Right? And we always looked at the weather reports. We would go get the frickin' Farmer's Almanac to see what the weather was going to be like because Democrats are shaking in their boots about whether or not if it's a little bit of rain or a little bit of whatever, that Democrats are not going to show up.
Let's just get down to the gist of it and what these bills that they're trying to pass. Because you talking all the way around circles is not really giving information. They're talking about restricting mail-in voting, for one.
No, but why? But I'm giving the why. I'm giving the why. Right, so they're doing these things, but it's important for people, for regular people to understand why. Because somebody may say, well, it doesn't matter that they're restricting that.
No, what you talked about was feeding people online.
No. See, I'm talking about something bigger, Diane. I'm talking about people. I'm talking about the vote coming out. And then the things that you do to get the vote to come out. And what they're trying to do is not have the vote come out.
Eric, could you link that to why they want to restrict mail-in ballots so that
because mail-in ballots now means that variable of rain or inclement weather is a non-factor now. Right? It means that all of these other things, because now I can just go to your home. And so if we're talking about the black vote, right? You think about, and again, as an insider, I would have single moms who say, I can't come and vote because I got my kids to take here and to do this with. I can't come to do that because I work a job and a half and I got to get home and feed my family. So all of these obstacles that prevented them from being able to actually come to the polls, which is, again, I'm starting off by saying when Democrats come out to the polls, Republicans lose. Right? And so now what they're saying is, hey, we're going to make it, Democrats saying, we're going to make it easy. So it's not a poll issue, it's a voting issue.
Well, it is a voting issue. And the whole thing in which the Republicans are now looking or moving to change some of what had brought a great deal of success to the Democratic Party is so that they can win. So, mail-in ballots, drop-off ballots, and ID, the particular identification, which wasn't required before, and even drop-off spots being limited to places that take people an average of 30 minutes away from their home.
Right.
It's all about the Republicans trying to keep their power.
Right. And here's the craziest thing, guys.
It's not about the Republicans. It's about those people in control. They're Democrats and they're Republicans who are trying to hold their seats and make it harder for people to remove them out of these seats. So it's not just the Republicans.
That's correct. That is true.
That's correct.
Back over. And the Republicans are in control. The Democrats are going to be doing the same thing.
No doubt. They do it now.
They're working with each other and against each other at the same time.
They do it now, right? So to the enticements that you're talking about, Diane, so we talk about nonpartisan elections, right, here in Essex County. It's not about feeding people. It's about feeding your people, right? So they're all Democrats, right? But now within there, you have people who show up at the polls, and literally they know that the entire community might be food insecure, right? They all have their way, but they're going to make sure that they take care of their people, not all people. So I agree with you. Democrats are as dirty and nasty and conniving as the Republicans.
Let's just say they've got a level of culpability.
No, they're dirty, conniving, and disgusting. Right? Yeah. But we are, we are fighting, and folks should understand that this is a real fight against all of this stuff. And, one of the things that I heard on the news too, and I talked about this in one of my posts, and guys, we got to get on, we got to really, you've got Republicans who created a hysteria, right, around, efficacy of our elections, right? They created it through lies. None of those lies have been substantiated by facts. In fact, where they asked them, well, bring proof of widespread voter fraud, there has been zero proof, right?
Meanwhile, the term was voter fraud, which would cause or change the effect of the election.
Right, and so there's been zero proof. But what the leadership in the GOP is saying is it is necessary for us to move forward in changing this stuff in order to bring about a greater level of confidence in our elections. And I'm saying, wait a minute. For those people who lack confidence, they lack it because you lied. Right?
Correct.
So just stop lying. You don't need to change no laws. Just stop lying. Come out publicly and say, hey, listen, the reason you guys believe that it was a fraud is because we lied to you. And the truth of the matter is there is no evidence at all, right? In fact, the evidence points to the fact that these were the most secure elections that we've had to date, right? Now, if you say that, right, if you say that and you give as much effort and money and time to spreading that narrative that you did to promoting and endorsing the other one, then you will see a rise in confidence amongst those 75 million people that believed your lie. Right? Do that. But right, absent of doing that, so on this one hand, you're still stoking the fire or the embers of it being a stolen election by being silent. right? Your silence is doing it now. And then over here, you're going, see the fire? We need to put it out. But we need to put it out like this while you're still fanning the flames of it. It's ridiculous. And folks need to, in larger numbers, stand up and call it for what it is.
Bull as maximum sophisticated confusion.
Well, you know what? They're not lying, and stuff that makes it so sad that people aren't paying attention, because they're not lying legally. So legally now, they're saying what it is. In that case, I posted on my page in Arizona to extend voter suppression that has made it to the Supreme Court. A guy showed up from the RNC for oral argument, and when asked by Comey, the new Supreme Court justice, she asked him, "What is your interest here? Why are you here to make sure this happens?" And he said it, and he was from the RNC. He said, "Because if we don't do it, it gives Democrats an advantage, and politics is a game." He said that on the papers, right? They are now saying in the legal end of this argument, they are saying that it disadvantages the Republican Party. So they are basically admitting that they need voter suppression to continue and extend further because it's not fair. Because if it doesn't, you don't suppress voters.
And
then we can't win. And that is the insidious part, because black people in this country should know that that's happening. That should be like on the news everywhere, every day. They should be talking about it all over the place, because they are about to take the Voters' Rights Act from 1965 and decimate it. We're just not paying attention.
Right, and a lot of it has to do with smoke and mirrors, because the John Lewis Act is up, and the other part is, and the other part that really gets me was when he went before the Supreme Court, the sheer effing hubris of him just saying that, well, if you don't change it, we're going to lose. Well, yes, yeah, exactly, and I agree with you, Jody, on that point, 100%. And it's all about now, people of color are now, with everything being easier and giving them a great deal more access to go out and vote, with people now diving into news sects and not everybody believing the big lie, with people now taking a stronger interest in their politics because they can Zoom or whatever the case may be. I'm hopeful that it brings about some serious and positive change. It's a vehicle now where we can get everybody involved. We can get all of those little armchair after election day quarterbacks to get off their couch, fill out that ballot, and make a freaking change. That's the whole beauty of it, and that's what they want to stop.
Well,
and I'm dropping the mic.
Well, we've got a lot of work to do, and we got to stay focused on the fight.
Right.
We got to stay focused on the fight.
Yes, because we got the midterms coming up, and they're already making moves to fight against us. If we get at least 5 more Democrats in the Senate, it's over for the Republican Party. Because with that, it is easier for them to get 5 more people to change. The problem the biggest help in terms of getting more Democrats is going to be Donald Trump going against other Republicans.
Here's the thing. I just wish the movement that was for, the movement that Stacey Abrams has and, around the country, I do wish that it wasn't politically driven. I wish it wasn't party driven. I wish that black people thought enough of their people to drive just that you vote, right? Because when it's party driven, it just mucks the water up. I would like to see more progressives in office, I would like to see some more non-party driven candidates who are just like have a philosophy on what the world should look like, much more pragmatic. I just wish it wasn't party driven. That is going to be an error that Black folks continue to make. That and that's where we lack to see real justice for us, because we shouldn't be discussing it today. If there's two bills that you can just pass them, why are we still discussing it today? I don't get that. So if the Democratic Party has not made that move and recognize how scary it is, like you're talking about it, and you said you saw it on the news this morning, so why has not those bills been put on the floor? And why are we talking about a $3 billion bill, $3 trillion infrastructure bill that Biden is about to put on the floor? Why are we talking about that? So that is going to be the downfall of Black people in this country, that we're going to still go into fixing this problem party-based as opposed to...
Well, here's the big thing, Jody, in terms of it, and I agree, and that was what Joe Biden was looking for. He was looking for bipartisan in getting these things passed. But here is the ugly reality: we have been more divided than ever, and now we're in a position to say that, okay, we've got the numbers, but to make it go, we're going to need bipartisan effort, in which we have not gotten it, and those bills are exactly, and that's the reason why they're saying, okay, if we can get 5 more new Democratic senators elected, we've got this. And that's
so we got to wait 2 years? So Black people have to wait 2 years for the Voters' Right Act?
No, Jody, breathe easy. Because the John Lewis bill is going to go up way before the next midterms. But what probably or projecting will happen to it will be the same thing that happened.
Right, but what I believe is going to happen is the bill is going to go up, but it's going to be a carrot, right? That's dangled in front of people. But it's not going to be real, right? But it's going to be an enticement to get Black people once again to say, hey, we need you to come out again. We need you to come out and vote again. And I think that's what's going to happen. So yeah, I believe that, Jody, that they're playing it on a timeline for the midterm election. And as an enticement for Black people to come out and saying exactly what Vincent said. Hey, we couldn't get this done because we need more. We need you to do more for us before we can do this.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my belief. Right? And my thing is, no, I need you to, pardon my French, but go balls to the wall now. Right?
Absolutely.
We've done, so when is enough, and Dr. King said, when is enough enough? When is enough enough?
Yeah.
When is enough enough? It's never enough, right?
Enough is enough when we have when one party or another has total domination, and we've just experienced that, and that's what we're looking to change. Or when I'm coaching these kids in sports, and they're winning, and they start taunting it. When is winning not enough?
Right, but I'm gonna say this. But for them, they say they're asking the same question to Black people, right? When is enough enough? We gave you this, isn't that enough? You got this, isn't that enough? And then we have to say no, it's not enough until we have equality. That's enough, right? That's it.
No, it's not enough till we get what we want.
No. See, I don't want to say till we get what we want, right? Because then you ask the question, well, what do we want, right? So I'm saying no.
Equality.
Right. So just say equality, right? Not what we want until we get equality, right? I'm not mincing words anymore. If we don't, I'm gonna keep putting my foot in your ass until we get equality. End of story, right? And so on the other side, It's just like, okay, we're going to improve things a little bit more. But remember when I was talking, like, so we're going to turn the temperature down a little bit for you guys, right? Make it more comfortable.
That's giving us what they want.
Right. But this goes back to the book, right?
Mm-hmm.
I should put that back on my screen now that we're done with Danache or whatever her name is. But, which is what Dr. King said. We have these two different definitions, right? We have these two goals, right? And we've believed, and I think that we are still, like, because of the dysfunctional relationship we have and the abusive relationship we have, we're still believing, much like we believe much like women, and if you want to use this young lady here, right, she's believing her husband that he's going to be different than he's always been, right, and so she's staying in hopes of, right, but doesn't see any actual transformation. I'm saying that the same thing for us, right? Dr. King said these are, there's no real transformation because it requires this cataclysmic thing that is not occurring, and it requires this level of sacrifice, and we haven't seen that yet. And so, but we're still believing. And he's saying, but wait a minute, guys, in the middle of you guys believing, understand that what you're believing is something different, right? Because they're saying that they want to make your life better. They're not saying that they want to make it equal. And until they say that, and then through their actions prove it, right, then we should be skeptical.
Or maybe maybe we push enough and keep our foot up there behind until they realize that making our life better is making making us equal. That's the whole issue. And I'm not going to, and like you, Eric, I'm not going to mince words. I'm not going to split hairs about it. Bottom line, as Dr. King did with the bus boycott, as he did with the civil rights, no, we won't stop until we get what we want, not what you want to give us.
Yeah. Diane sent this to me. Jim Clyburn, this is out of Politico. Jim Clyburn is ticking off some of the White House, and he's perfectly fine with it. It talks about, him, leaning on them for, appointments to the cabinet, as well as making suggestions, even though there's not a vacancy within the Supreme Court right now, who he would like to see. But so here's my question, right? And so,
well, that answers your question 3 months ago.
No, but it doesn't, right? Because then my question is, if you're doing this, right, why are you tiptoeing? Why are you walking on eggshells? So when you were asked, like,
he understands the political climate more than you and I do, and he understands that to get it done, this is the way to do it. Rather than, an Eric Dawson, sometimes, Eric, when you're doing things, you have to have the precision like a scalpel. See, sometimes you and I, we come in there and forget the scalpel.
Wait a minute, but no, but wait a minute, but here's what I'm saying. So I'm gonna read this out to you, and so tell me why he says two different things. So it says Clyburn is trying to put his stamp on the course of the Biden presidency and isn't shy about it. He says he isn't shy about it. He complained about a lack of diversity in Biden's initial cabinet rollout and pushed specifically for Marcia Fudge to get a position in the administration. He's made his pick for Supreme Court Justice known even before there's a vacancy. He joined other House Democrats in urging the administration to elevate Shalonda Young to the Office of Management and Budget to become the first black woman to head the department. Clyburn says he's merely speaking for African Americans who played a pivotal role in winning the White House and the Senate for Democrats. Now, I have no problem with this, right? But my question is, so when you say, well, what does he owe you? Why wouldn't you just say that? So he's saying now, I'm not shy. So when you say to me, well, he's going through this, I'm saying, well, but I get it. So then speak. So if he had come and said, when they said, well, what does he owe you? Well, you don't have to be You don't have to say, "Oh, he owes me five cabinet seats, political. A justice pick, X, Y, and Z." He could have said, "Yo, he owes Black America a seat at the table." He could have left it there, right?
Eric.
Yeah.
It gives answer to what he's doing right now, what you wanted him to do 3 months
Right,
ago.
but you know what?
And
I don't
now-
trust. But I don't
now
trust.
he's
But I don't
doing it,
trust.
and you've got
I don't
all-
trust him. I don't trust him. He speaks
that's
with.
the whole issue.
There we go. He speaks with forked tongue.
So again, with Clyburn now, we're going to throw out the baby with the bath.
No. I didn't say that. What did I say? I said, yo, yeah, all of this stuff. Yeah, I still don't trust him though. Doesn't mean I trust him. Yep, do these things. If these things, but I still don't trust you. I'm still not gonna walk into an alley with you expecting you to have my back. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take. Just look, just like those people in Chicago, right? Look, trying to get black folks to redefine what reparations are. I don't trust y'all. I'm gonna take the $25,000, but I don't trust you. See, we have to be sophisticated like that, right? I'm not gonna sell out. No, I know who you are. I heard what you said. I heard you. Biden, I heard you say that nothing was going to fundamentally change for those wealthy people. I heard you. So now...
I see you lying on the road, and I know you're a snake.
Right. So you going to do these things? Yep, I'm going to take it, but I still don't trust you. You know the dog that's been kicked around, right? And you hold a steak out, right? You put the steak there. The dog doesn't sit and look at you, right? If he's hungry enough, he gonna get closer and he's gonna snatch the steak and then run back to his corner and eat it and look at you sideways. He's not gonna trust you, but he's gonna eat the steak. And then if you come close enough, he's gonna bite the shit out of you. And that's what I'm saying. That's what we need to be.
Okay, so you're just going to get close, get weights.
I'm gonna get what you give me. I'm gonna get what you give me, and I'm gonna go take what I deserve. That's it. Okay. I'm gonna take whatever you give me, right? But I'm focused on what I deserve, and I'm still gonna be focused on taking that.
Okay, so Biden is now taking a more bold stance to changing his opinion to he owes me nothing to now. Now this is what we did for you, Joe. And now he's taking a stance in which you won, but you still don't trust him. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, I was reading also in New Jersey. So I gotta ask this question. So this is part of why I said ball of confusion in the age of COVID-19. So some states are opening, some have all the way opened, right? Some are creeping open. In New Jersey, Governor Murphy said, we've opened enough for now. And so as we're approaching the summer, especially down in shore area where they make their money during this time of year, a lot of them are really unhappy, right? Because they don't have 100% capacity and they're concerned that they're going to go under if they don't get open. And so what some of the restaurant owners are saying is, hey, look, you've got like Lowe's and Home Depot and places like that all the way open. You got supermarkets. You got people going into Costco and BJ's and Sam's Club, right? You got all that open. Why can't those same people who are standing in these lines in these supermarkets and in these home improvement stores and these big box superstores like Sam's Club and BJ's and Costco, why can't they come sit in my restaurant? Don't they have a point? I mean, don't they have a point? Like, if you're going to close those, you should close these.
Okay. Well, the thing is that they want the restaurants to be open up to full capacity rather than the 15% or 10 to 15% that they are. And even in saying that they've got a 10 to 15% capacity, a lot of restaurants still are going above that. But you also, in terms of what Governor Murphy was looking at, is that we are not plateaued, but now the European and Brazilian strands are starting to bring it to a rise. So until we get a point of more people vaccinated, it's just not safe. Where some states are just running ramshot. Oh, we're open.
Right.
And now the cities are going against those states.
But I want to see. I'm gonna see because I'm always skeptical. And like I said to people, like get vaccinated, yep, do these things, but I still don't trust the government, right? And I still don't I'm not all the way in, right? I haven't, just because I talk about being vaccinated and wearing a mask and doing social distancing and all those things, doesn't mean that I've jumped like all the way in with these guys, any of them. And so I'm looking at it now, Vincent, and saying, okay, we are in the midst of a couple of things here, right? We're in the midst of herd immunity, right? Because of the number of people who have been infected and antibodies being built up, right? And all that kind of stuff. And the number of vaccines that are taking place, understanding that people are not, that they're not shielded just because you've gotten a vaccine from contracting COVID. Let's be clear. All it says is that your body is now prepped to be able to fight it in such a way that hospitalization is less likely, right?
Hospitalization and death.
And death is less likely, or almost off the table
Almost
now,
unlikely.
right? Unlikely. So, with that being said, I want to see the information now that suggests that, yeah, people are going to get sick, right? You contract it, you're going to get sick, right? And what's a level now? So if we were at DEFCON 10 before last year, I mean, when this thing first broke, where are we now? Right? And then based on science, based on data, where are we now in terms of if people got infected? Is it like the flu now? Right? I'm not talking about in terms of the level of contagion. I'm saying in terms of the level of sickness. Right? So if people got it, because certainly folks, if they got the flu, they got the flu. They stay home, they do whatever, right? If folks get COVID, and again, I'm agreeing with the science that says that it is more contagious. So more people can get it because of that, right? How it spreads. But if you did get it, like I said, what is the percentage based on the science and based on the data? What is the percentage of, how is it going to hurt the economy? Right? And remember, when we started this a year ago, the question that we asked was whether the cure was going to be more devastating than the disease. And so I'm asking now, where we are now, with the science and with everything else that's going on, is the cure, which is Governor Murphy saying, we're not going to open these up to capacity, right? We're not going to do this, we're not going to do that. Is the cure going to be more devastating than the disease as it stands right now? As it stands right now, with the number of vaccines, with the herd immunity, with the everything else that's going on, I don't know the answer to that question.
Well, here's the answer to that question. And since you are following the science is basically saying this: to get us to a point of the new normal, or even starting the new normal, we need at least 70% of the people to be vaccinated. That is what develops a herd immunity. What we have now gone into...
Well, no, don't say that. That's not what develops the herd immunity. What develops herd immunity is that your body has antibodies to be able to fight it. And you can get those antibodies by, wait a minute, right, you can get them by having had COVID, right? Mm-hmm. That's right. So the herd immunity is not just linked to the vaccine.
Okay, well, herd immunity linked to the vaccine is simply I'll give you the quick mechanics. The vaccine basically gives a false image of the virus in which your body develops antibodies to fight it.
Right.
So, therefore, if 70% of the people have these antibodies to fight it, we have now developed and established herd
Right, but what I'm
immunity.
saying is this: what we're discounting right now. See, I just want to follow the science, because what we're discounting is this: out of the number of people that contracted COVID, fewer than a half of 1% or something like that died, right? Right? Just
I'm
help
not
me
sure
with
those numbers.
Okay.
But I'll take your word for it.
Right. So now you say, so all of those other people survived, right? And presumably, based on the science, developed antibodies.
Well, maybe a little more than the actual projecting, because the other thing that you look at are people who are asymptomatic, who had the disease, developed the antibodies, yet showed no symptoms.
Right,
but that's a total different thing.
No. So I'm just talking about antibodies right now. I'm talking about antibodies as we march toward herd immunity, right? So antibodies, right, occur in two ways, right? They occur from people who have contracted it, right? And then the body develops these antibodies, because when you contract it, your body starts trying to fight it. Now, after you've gone through it, your body now knows what it's been through and is prepared in case it comes again. The issue with coronavirus, or the novel coronavirus, was that it was something the body didn't know about. Right? And so when you got it, the body was in shock, like, oh crap, what the heck is this? Right? But now, for all of the millions upon millions of people who have contracted it and survived it, their body knows, like, okay, bring it on. Right? And with regard to the vaccine, you're right, Vincent, it is a playbook. Right? It's not the actual virus, but a playbook that says, hey, this is what the virus looks like. If you ever see it, this is what you should do. Right? So now you've got two groups of people walking around. Those who contracted it and their bodies now know what to do. Those who received the received the vaccine, and their bodies now know what to do. So I'm asking, so with all of those people, right, we are marching toward herd immunity, and more people are being infected every day, and more people are getting vaccinated every day, and the number of critical patients is continuing to decline, even with the infection rate, right? And so my question is, Are we still, yes, we may be in critical mass when they say, oh, the number of infections are going up. Got it. But if how people, because some of the people who are being infected are people who may have gotten the vaccine, right? Because we know that you can still get infected even though you've been vaccinated. And some of the people who are being infected are people who had coronavirus once before, right? They're lumped into this too. But now again, if we're saying, well, because you now have the antibodies, right? The likelihood based on the science is death is off the table, and the degree to which you're going to be ill and possibly need to be intubated or even go to the hospital has lessened. So why the continued hysteria? That's the question I'm asking.
Okay, well, first there is the continued hysteria because we still have people who are in 2020 mode and the great lie. People who are still dealing with post-traumatic stress and shock of being isolated for over a year. So, what the governor, in terms of New Jersey, is looking to do is to make sure that we've established herd immunity based upon the people who have been vaccinated. So once we reach that, then 100%.
No, I get what he's doing. No, I'm not saying I don't get what he's doing.
Hold on, Eric. Let me finish. Because the hysteria, or the era of caution, is saying that no, it does not make sense to be like these other states that have opened up. Everything has increased now. It's running rampant again, and then having to shut back down.
Right, but you're missing my So again, I understand what he's saying, and I understand that more people are getting infected. But here to me were a couple issues, right? A couple issues that were at stake when the pandemic first struck was the degree to which our healthcare providers and hospitals were going to be taxed by the overwhelming number of people coming into the hospital, right? I'm saying, is that still a possibility, right? Not will people be infected, but will the infection rate put stress on these systems, right? Or will people get infected, have mild cold symptoms, maybe have a low-grade headache, and then be over it, right? Because if that is the case, then yeah, you'll see the infection rate go up, but what we were concerned about it impacting, it's no longer impacting. That's what I'm saying. So them just dangling the infection rate isn't enough for me now. I need to understand, because yeah, people are going to get infected. People are going to get sick. They're going to sneeze. They're going to have low-grade headaches. They may lose their taste buds, sense of taste. All those things may occur. My understanding, though, Vincent, was that what we were concerned about last year was having to build makeshift MASH units in Central Park. That we were looking at co-opting abandoned buildings and bringing big ships in to create emergency rooms. That we couldn't get enough ventilators because people were going to be on ventilators. My question to you now is that still on the table, or are people just going to have low-grade headaches? Right? Are they going to have sniffles? Are they going to have body aches? But it's stuff that they can deal with being at home for a couple of days until they get over it.
Okay.
Do you understand what I'm getting at?
We experienced last year, Eric. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay. And doing what we experienced last year, it could, if it continues to go up, and if he opens up and we haven't reached immunity, then we go back to where we were. All of the things in which you talked about could possibly happen.
I need to see that, but that's what I'm saying. I don't hear the data on that though. See,
you didn't get the data on it. You lived through the data.
No, Vincent, no. It's different, right? Because we have more people who have antibodies now. Right? What is the percent? And this is what I'm saying to you. So when we tout that 3 million people a day are being vaccinated, right? When we look at the overall number of people who have been infected, like I said, fewer than 1% die. So all of the other people, right, that got infected, right, presumably have antibodies, and those antibodies now put them in a different category of risk. Right, they're in a lower category of risk of needing intubation if they contract it. They're in a lower category of risk of being hospitalized if they contract it. They're in an even lower risk of dying now, right? So they're in a risk of having a low-grade headache. They're in a risk of having their taste buds altered. They're in a risk of all these other things, and I get that. But is that enough to shut everything down?
Let me help you out. At the present time, we've got 14% of our country vaccinated. Okay? Now.
No, wait a minute. I want you to add to that number. Stop for a second. I want you to continue. No, listen. I want you to add another number to that before you go on. So 14% has been vaccinated. What percentage contracted COVID-19?
Okay, now before I was cut off, I was going to say, I can't give you right now that number.
There we go. That's the number I need to know.
Eric, please let me finish. Let's just say hypothetically that we add another 15%.
More than that.
Okay, give me a number.
I don't know, but I know it's more than 15%.
Okay, well, let's say 20%.
Okay, let's say
Okay,
20%.
who have antibodies.
Right.
That still gives us 34%, which we are only halfway at the point of the threshold of herd immunity, which means that once again, if we open up at this present state, we now reverse all the efforts that we went through, and people begin suffering all over. The suffering has just
but hear what I'm getting ready to say.
Light at the tunnel. We're not at the tunnel.
But hear what I'm getting ready to say to you, right? So let's say we're at 30 or 35% of people who have antibodies, right? And the number is growing every day, right? In two respects. One, it's growing because we're getting 3 million people a day vaccinated, right? And then two, because people are continuing to be infected, right? And we know also that the percentage of death is less than 1%. So the majority of the people who are being infected, right, are dealing with what? Because the hospitalization rates are going down too. Even though the infection rates are going up, we still see that there are fewer people being intubated, there are fewer people being hospitalized, which means that you have more people being infected, because they're saying more people are being infected, right? And they're acquiring the antibodies. So I'm saying those numbers are growing exponentially, right? And so so for me, the number that we should be looking at is whether or not hospitalizations are going up, whether or not intubations are going up, whether or not deaths are going up, right? So when they were reporting before that we were dealing with 3,000 deaths a day, 5,000 deaths a day, where's that number now? And if that number is going down, but infections have gone up, we're acquiring herd immunity.
Yes, and that's the whole key, Eric.
Right.
We are acquiring herd immunity.
But why wouldn't we continue?
Eric, please. We have not acquired
herd
immunity.
But why wouldn't we?
No, Eric, let me finish, please. Even though those numbers in which you stated are going exponentially, we still have not reached herd immunity. Sit down, be patient, put your mask on, and
Vincent, but my question to you is this: if the biggest fear, and so let me ask you this question: is the biggest fear? I know, but I want to finish this question. Is the biggest fear contracting COVID, or is the biggest fear dying from COVID?
Well, I guess the biggest fear would be contracting, because contraction leads to death.
No.
Let me finish. It doesn't lead to death to everybody, but it does lead to death. And even though if your numbers are correct, 1%, if my family member is at that 1%, I'm not going to be a happy camper.
I'm not suggesting you.
It leads to the simple fact that we have come this far.
No. Now you're going to go into psychobabble, Vincent. Now you're going into psychobabble for not answering my question. So the idea was, so I just want to be clear. The narrative last year, it was about death. It was about death. That was a narrative last year. So you doing what you just did, I'm saying the focus was on death. That it was a novel virus and how it spread, and ultimately how many people died, right? Because that's what we were talking about. 500,000 people, 500,000 people died. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about hospitals being overrun, and we were talking about not having enough PPE. We were talking about ventilators. We were talking about all those things, and I'm saying that we're not talking about those things right now, right? We're talking about contraction of the virus. And I'm saying, so, but if all of those other things that led to the hysteria, all of them are down, it says that we're marching toward herd immunity. We're at 12:06. I want to finish this conversation tomorrow, because now I'm saying, much like Rob Emanuel said, never let a crisis go to waste. And my concern is, it was a crisis. It may not be as much of a crisis anymore. But since they drove a narrative, people have dove into this thing, and they're not thinking for themselves anymore. They're allowing this narrative to gain momentum in a way that maybe it shouldn't be. I don't know. But I'm going to dig more into the science tonight, and I'll have statistics tomorrow.
Yes, and don't forget about the show this afternoon.
Yes.
We've got the
Yep.
former mayor of Vermont, who was scandalized, lost his position, found not guilty, and now he's running for re-election.
So we'll be talking about, hey, listen, we'll be talking about redemption later on today. Thanks for tuning in, guys.
Yeah.
Have a great day.